Colin O'Keefe here for LXBN TV. The FDA has taken a major step towards bringing regulation of electronic cigarettes under their authority. Joining me to explain what they've done and its potential impact on what now is a booming industry is attorney Jennifer Diaz. She is with Becker and Poliakoff, an author on the Customs and International Trade blog. Jennifer, first, can you explain what exactly the FDA has done here? What does this give them the authority to do?
Sure. So the FDA has its authority based on the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, what we call the FDNC Act. And it was amended by the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Act in 2009. So that act originally gave FDA the authority to regulate tobacco products, right? So e-cigarettes weren't included in tobacco products in the original definition. So FDA has to deem new products tobacco products in order to get them through into the FDNC Act and FDA's regulatory purview. So the proposed rule from April 24th gives the whole world 75 days to comment on whether e-cigarettes should be deemed tobacco products. And what's going to happen as a result of e-cigarettes being deemed tobacco products are 9 things. So one is FDA is going to be able to say that e-cigarettes are either adulterated or misbranded upon entry and be able to take enforcement action on these e-cigarettes if they have hazardous ingredients or they're mislabeled, for example. 2 is there's going to be required registration and listing components, which most products regulated by the FDA already have, and a cost component with it. 3, they'll be required to submit ingredient listing and reporting to the FDA, which may be onerous for many companies to come up with. 4, there's going to be a prohibition against the use of risk descriptors, light, low, mild, and such. 5, there's going to be prohibition against the distribution of free samples. Really what this comes from is we don't want minors getting their hands on this product. So that becomes a really big deal in terms of free samples. And also, number 7, a requirement for the minimum age of purchase. You're going to have to be over 18. And we see some states enacting laws for that as well. So we're going to see more and more of this as this becomes a bigger hot topic. 7 is pre-market review requirements. And this is where I think the biggie comes in for e-cigarette companies. And this is where a lot of comments have come to play. And it's a matter of what are those pre-market review requirements going to be for e-cigarettes, because what are they substantially equivalent to? The standard is they have to be on the market before 2007. Well, what e-cigarette was on the market before 2007? So it becomes an interesting way in terms of what pathway they're going to utilize for that pre-market review process. So I'm sure we'll see comments based on that. And the last 2 are health warnings, which we see on all tobacco products now and that are considered tobacco products by the FDA and under the FDNC Act. And the last is prohibition of vending machine sales unless minors don't have access to those vending machines. So that's, again, trying to keep minors away from the product.
I see. And then second, how does this stand to impact the booming market around e-cigarettes? How has the industry responded to this?
What's interesting is there's a huge take in terms of the industry response, and some are really, really positive about it because they can keep up and they can provide that health, safety, efficacy data, and they'll get more scientific research on. And some, for example, the Washington Post reported, which I put in my blog, for example, the quote was, "This is worse than I expected." And that was from a board member of the American Vaping Association. And he welcomed the age restriction rules, but hoped the FDA would grandfather in existing products rather than force e-cigarette makers to file lengthy applications for any product on the market dating to early 2007. And I think this is where companies are going to have bigger issues. I think the registration and listing is to be expected when you're dealing with the FDA. Food products, drug products, medical device products. Most products under the FDA's purview, besides cosmetics, have a mandatory registration and listing. So that's to be expected. And the fee component coming into there, that's to be expected as well. What is a lot harder for all the companies to comply with, instead of the registration listing, is the ingredients in the pre-market review. So I think that's going to be what's really interesting for companies to keep up with. Thankfully, they're able to keep their flavors for now, and we'll see what happens with the flavor debate as well. So cigarettes can't have all the flavorings that attract minors, but e-cigarettes have many of those flavors as well. So I think once the health and safety data comes into the FDA, we'll see different interesting arguments as a result of the comments. But the majority of the feedback from the electronic cigarette industry is they're encouraged by the FDA's proposed rules in And most of these companies as well welcome FDA's oversight into this market so that we can confirm the health and safety data and so that youth isn't affected by these products as well.
Very interesting. This is going to be an interesting area to watch because, as mentioned, e-cigarettes are really a booming industry right now. So we'll have to see just how much of an impact this regulation has. Once again, that was attorney Jennifer Diaz. She's with Becker and Poliakoff. For more of her insight on this subject, be sure to visit customs and international trade law.com. Thank you for joining me today, Jennifer.
Thanks.